Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to everyone. This is the Trinidad Humanity Campaign public meeting number 8. As you all know, we're doing all our public meetings live here on our YouTube channel. I am Marcus Ramkisoon. I am the political leader of the party, and I thank you all for joining us. I welcome you this evening, and hopefully we'll get some nice points out, have some good things to say, you know, let's see what happens this afternoon. Yeah. It's a rainy afternoon this evening. It kind of prevented us from going on our walkabouts before the broadcast. We were hoping to maybe tap into the broadcast from a walkabout this evening, but weather was not permitting. So maybe tomorrow. Just to let you know, you can call at any time. It's 8321, right? 737-8321. I'll put it in the chat today for those of you familiar, using my mobile device again for the Facebook Live. So due to that, we'll be using a colleague's number for the call-in, and you're welcome to call in during the broadcast anytime. You're welcome to send us WhatsApp messages or text messages, let us know what you're thinking. And if you have any questions, we can potentially answer them, hopefully definitively answer them for you, and be able to comment on some things for your electoral district. So this evening, as most of you all also know, I don't usually plan anything before I come here to speak. And I speak straight from what I believe, what I think, straight from it's all in here and in here, right? So I've noticed a lot of recently some upgrades in a lot of things happening. As we see and look at the Mayaro Road is finally going to be built, and I'm glad for it. The cost estimated seems pretty reasonable. Haven't looked into any details or anything, obviously, but 70 million for the entire new Mayaro Road seems pretty reasonable. That's sounds really nice. Now, let's hope that price is not inflated by the time it actually gets done, because we know that happens a lot here. If we could keep that cost down to that 70 million, I think that's from what has been done in the past in terms of amount of road works for money. I think that Mayaro project sounds like a pretty good value for money, and I appreciate it for the residents of Mayaro, and for everybody that has to travel on those roads to access, the coastal areas in Manzanilla, Mayaro. That's an important road. Far less for those who live in there and have to go to school and go to work and all that stuff. You will see the dusty road that was the in-between interim road. So glad to see that's finally happening. Question I have, though, is why couldn't it have been instigated, implemented, organized beforehand? Is it just because we're in the election period that we see in these types of things? We know that there seems to be quite a lot of support for a particular party this time, due to new members and some new members. I keep saying, and I keep not understanding how, because yesterday I took the opportunity to discuss a little that the job position in governance, whether it's central governance or local governance, is management of our resources, and moreover, management of our financial, fiscal, monetary resources. When allocations are budgeted towards a corporation in excess of $200 million a year, the persons that you put in charge of that corporation or those corporations are directly responsible for that money, and the distribution of such, the payment of salaries and all that, of course, but there's a ton of excess money in terms of private projects and contractors and infrastructure and all that stuff. And that's where, you want people there who will try to achieve the best value for the money, with the understanding that it's not just your money, it's also my money, it's everybody's money, because all tax-paying citizens' monies that are being used, So, and I really want people to remember this, that a government elected is just a government, it's just a team of people elected to manage the finances of the country. Country is actually operated like a business. Every country, we bring in revenue, we spend money, and the goal is to bring more revenue in than you expend, right? Whilst, of course, ensuring that you have all the services necessary to take care of your citizenry, to maintain a completely healthy population, not just physical health, but social health, mental well-being, a standard and comfort of living, and all these things. So all these aspects, this is what the government is responsible for directly, right? That level of management of the resources, right? And again, central and local government. So to me, and I've always used the example, and I use it again, of the managers. You have a business, and you hire a manager to manage your business, and that manager doesn't perform well, right? Or they could perform better, and you let go that manager, and you hire another manager when their term is finished, or if you want to look at it like that, and that manager doesn't perform well amidst all the promises and interviews that you've done and all that stuff. And when the third time comes around, instead of you look for a new manager with qualifications, everything that is suited for the job, amidst a field of candidates for the position, you go back to the first manager or the second manager who did poorly. And that is not sensible to me, or in my opinion, to any business owner. So we need to start reminding ourselves and start thinking for who we are, which is the owners of this country, and remember that every few years we elect a team simply to manage these resources, and therefore the integrity of those people, the zeal of those people, the passion of those people, the intelligence of those people, all of these aspects are very important when you're putting somebody to manage. And the kind of management we're talking about is much higher than a management level in even a large company. As I just said, if you put in 16 people in Tinapuna Corporation, Tinapuna Piaco Regional Corporation, to manage 270 million TT dollars for the year, that's a lot more than a lot of big managers handle in and have the responsibility for, in terms of large businesses internationally, right? This is why governance is really a much higher level managerial position, and you should have some level of skill into this position. Being able to read and understand and put out and write technical papers, all these things is good. So when some people have good prowess on the ground, right? And they know how to rally support, and the music, whatever they want to do, and they're good on the ground. Can they actually do the job when they get into the position, or will they have to depend on a permanent secretary or a technical person and all that stuff? And then, moreover, to the point that I'm trying to make is that, do you put someone to manage this kind of money, the country's money, your money, my money, all of our monies, who has a bad track record of management of money? That's that. I don't get it. But anyway, right? But because of this, right? Because of this wide-ranging, or seemingly wide-ranging support, maybe the projects that are normally undertaken around election time to mama gaya and get your vote, quick paving of roads and quick cleaning of drains, and these little things, maybe it's getting bigger, and maybe that is why we see the Miaro project come out now. So somebody might be realizing that it may not be as easy for them to take it as it was originally. So again, though, my big point to you is, as intelligent thinking adults, and moreover, Trinbagonians, I believe that all of us are smarter than that. I don't understand why we keep taking the chin up and the mama guy every few years, right? And just because some fanfare come in front of your house, you lend your electoral support, your civic right, you give it to them and say, okay, well, I vote for you, knowing full well that you represented me, or your candidate represented me for the last few years, and I didn't really see no big set of progress. Sure, I'm not saying no progress was made. I'm not saying these people sit down and do nothing. But I'm saying so much more could be done, and so much more could be elucidated from the position of management at the council position. I mean, and that brings me into our plans, right? Because I'm sure I've stood up over the years also and listened to candidates talk, and I've read what parties have had to say and their election promises. And in this case, I'll use promises, and that's why we try to use the word commitments as opposed to promises, because there's so many election promises that are made over the years, and how many of them actually materialize around general elections, which we're more familiar contesting. As for those who don't know, we've contested the last three general elections consecutively, and we never go into it with a frame of mind like, oh, we contesting, we're going to win. Yes, we all for positivity and all that. You got to understand the reality of politics in the country that you're contesting, and if you're not being real about it, then you're being delusional at some level. And far be it from me, all right, to ever be classed as delusional. Right, I look at things very realistically. Right, to be real, you have to be strategic, and you have to do certain things to get what you want done. Yeah, and so you listen to these people, and then for the next few years, you don't see the progress. You hear about the general election promises of 100 days into governance, we will do this, and how many of those promises have actually been materialized over the years? I'm not talking about this present government or anything, but really we're in a two-party system, so it's one of the two. How many of these promises over the last 15 years, right, have you seen materialized in your communities? Has crime gotten better? Right, meaning crime reduction. Has crime been reduced? Do we have a lower level of crime? Do you feel safer, right, when entering and leaving your homes? Right, do you feel safer in your homes? I can't even say at night anymore, because I made that point yesterday too. Right, there's a lot of brazen and violent crimes are happening from the morning to daytime and all that stuff. I'm checking these statistics for my PhD project in criminology at UTT. Currently, more or less. And I can tell you, the times have changed. It's no longer nighttime crimes, right? Crimes are happening all hours throughout the day. And when I say crimes, I mean serious crimes involving homicides and so, right, loss of life. And how long again are we going to sit back and accept it? How much longer are you going to say, yes, these first two managers, right, who did poorly in their time periods, are going to do better if I give them another chance again? How much time is it going to fall for the mama guy and the china, right, and the music and the dance and the party and the food and all this entertainment they're coming with, right? Which we don't like the idea of entertainment, right, in terms of governance, right? Governance should be a little more serious. You're supposed to, oh God, play a Kaiso song detailing what you're going to do or something, man, or all this thing. But all this dance, you dancing and no, that's anyway. Specific to our plans in terms of how we intend to address issues if we are given the position as councillors, well, as I said, we intend to do things that the people of Trinidad and Tobago, even ourselves, because we're citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, have never seen. We're not just coming to tell you, okay, we're making sure your road have no potholes, and we're making sure your drains clean, and when rainy season come, it won't have no flooding. Yes, we're doing all that. That is the core mandate of the job. That is now, there's a lot of mandates and there's a lot of opportunities, right? So I don't think we should call it a mandate. Let's say that is the core practice that exists in the country of the job. But there's so much more one could do in the position of councillor. And before I get into the actual points, right, because it ties into one of the main points, the question it keeps coming up to me. Well, Marcus, you all contest in what? 2 seats in Tinapuna out of 16, right? In Tinapuna. 1 seat out of 10 in Diego Martin, and 1 seat out of 8 in Kumuto Tamana. And what will you all do? What is the difference? I have to remind them, this is not a central governance election. It's not like we're going to sit as an independent opposition if we win. And first of all, I do believe that in a general election, sitting as an independent opposition, meaning you are someone on the opposition bench that's not part of either of the large parties, man, I believe that is what we need in this country. Somebody to actually speak to the merit and the disadvantages of particular bills without having to vote whatever their party votes, because that's what they call caucus voting, within parties. That's why, there's a lot of examples, but I hope you all understand that a member within our parliament these days cannot vote if they think this bill should be a change this way. If the party says no, we saying it good, they go in with it, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Right? You need somebody independent. Yeah, we have independent senators who do speak on the merit and disadvantages of bills, but look at the number and everything. You need somebody in house. You need somebody in house, in opposition, in House of Representatives, right? So before these bills go to Senate, right, before being passed in the House of Representatives, you have an opportunity there to get it changed there, right, the right way, because somebody is going to speak up and say exactly what is wrong with it, exactly what is right, and moreover, what an opposition is supposed to do. Here, we've come prepared with these because we've read what you've submitted to us. We did not sit back and do nothing, right? And we've done our homework and done the job, and now we're submitting to you these particular amendments in the correct format and everything, right? So that everybody's aware at the House session that we don't have to have another take another session just to discuss these things. One, and we're not just saying no, we don't like this, or yes, we like this. We're saying this is exactly how it could be changed, because this is what we do at the THC already. When we get invited as stakeholders, as a political party, to comment on particular bills, to joint select committees and stuff, which we've done a couple of times already, right? That's what we do. We, I said, I don't know, maybe I should use the example. Last year, just as an example, the representation of the people's amendment bill came to us, and we noticed there's a lot of issues in there because that bill affects directly campaign finance and stuff. And again, I encourage all of you to go to the Parliament website and read that bill and see what's coming. That was supposed to already have come out of the JSC and gone to be laid in Parliament. And the THC got five small parties together, right? Five minority parties. We like to call it small parties, but we're not the major two parties. So five other political parties together, and got comments together and all that, and submitted a 21-page document with 20 amendments, proposed amendments in the correct format, and you have to do it with the proposed amendment, the reasoning for the judicial prudence, or it's called a matrix document, right? So we did it properly, and we got all those parties to put their name on the document. We took up THC was sent one, and the same document, everybody put their name on, and five political parties sent the exact same comments to the JSC and the bill. All right, I communicated with the parliamentary committee, and they said to me it's the first time, all right, they've ever received the same submission from multiple stakeholders, right? Because you have to understand, sometimes they've told me they receive out of 100 submissions, only 3-4 of them are in actual proper format. Most of them is, we don't like this, we don't like that, change this, change that, So, and they can only use 3-4. So, and this is the first time they've gotten the same submission from multiple parties. And you know what happened? We got the bill to stay within the JSC for those submissions to be considered. We don't know if it'll go very far, but believe us when we tell you that when it comes back and it's lead into Parliament, if those proposed amendments are not taken up and it's the same old strippiness that was being put, you will hear us. So we do stuff. Don't get us wrong. We're not just sitting quietly. Somebody also asked on our social media, oh, how come you always only come out every few years for elections and all that stuff? Because we don't have the finances for advertising. And it's not that we poor, we rich or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that. We don't accept any public financing yet, because that kind of campaign financing and the style that it's done now, usually, even if we don't allow it to, we don't even want it to be perceived, right, that we in anything that people could get some kickback or anything like that. So we work with what we have, and those 1 hour TV ads in the night, with those political meetings and all that you see in mainstream television, is over $100,000 for that hour, right? A little ad in the paper, a 1-page ad in the paper, is $35,000 to $55,000 for one day, right? So we doing a little few ads on Facebook, $1 a day, $1 US a day on the Facebook. So that's what we could do. Right, might ramp it up a little bit just coming up to the last week of the election or so you all will get it in and keep it in your minds and so. But that's about it. That's why you don't really hear from us that much. Plus, we don't campaign against any party. We don't engage in derogatory campaigning. So you won't hear us bringing down any particular party or person or jobs or anything like that. Maybe the jobs, we'll talk about the jobs, but not the particular party or the individual. And we do that because, again, we try to maintain our relationships that we do already have within the government and the opposition. Because if we don't, when we have policy proposals like the stuff we did recently with a group, with the crime solutions and stuff, for that group to present it to the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police and stuff at the crime summit that they had recently, the regional crime summit. It's the same thing. We and those, even that small party, and we believe in putting forward the proposals and not keeping it for ourselves to bring it out at election time. If it's good proposals in our minds, let those in authority hear it, and hopefully they will start implementing it. So, and that's really what I use this platform for, right? The first few general elections, in fact, all three that we've contested so far, I've said to my candidates, I hope you all understand this is not something that with the politics of how things and the reality of the politics. You're not going to just easily win a seat. That'll be a miracle of God, right? But what we do is we use the platform to get to the public the right solutions, the right policies, and all that stuff, and we use it to get to governance and to those in authority, and we get it done. There's been no reprisal from me contesting an election from any particular party at all. As I said, I work with with this government and the cannabis bills and have written the proposed legislation and so forth. So we maintain relationships. Why burn bridges if you're trying to do the right thing and get the right thing done? Again, we believe we could do a better job than what is being done. And all we're here to do is tell you why we believe we could do a better job and exactly how we think we can do a better job. Right? So, again, that brings me right back into what I was trying to discuss before, which is the particular plans we have for our communities, because you ask people a lot. Before I get that, you ask people a lot and they ask you a couple questions, right? One, what I just mentioned, which is, how are you going to, with these such few members, make any difference? What I want to explain to you in the local regard, now that I've already explained it to you from the aspect of central governance, is that in one corporation, there are multiple councillors. Tanapuna Piapa Regional Corporation alone is 16 councillors. Yeah. If myself, one of us get elected in there, right? So you elect us to our seat, and I represent one of 16 councillors. The reality is the other 15 plus the 4 aldermen, right, will end up being out of the larger 2 parties. Yeah. And what that means is the party with the majority of councillors elected will have the ability, when votes are cast in meetings towards particular projects and all these things, they'll have the ability to get what they're proposing passed or done, right? So let's use a live example for you. A project is being put forward in the community, and qualified people are asked to tender for it, and everything through Office of Procurement Regulation and all that stuff. And I'm talking about things in just an example now, right? So everything would happen through that, yes. And THC comes and says, we come and say to the councillors at the meeting, well, look, we found a person within the community who's qualified, experienced, has all the necessary equipment, everything like that, and is willing to do the job for $2 million. And the other councillors, majority, says, well, no, we found a person also qualified, experienced, and has the equipment, and they're doing the job for $10 million. And THC says, well, no, wait. There's $8 million more of the taxpayers' money that we're spending for the same job. Why don't we get the person for the $2 million? And they say, well, let's vote. And we take a vote, and THC say demand for $2 million, right? And the others say demand for $10 million, and demand for $10 million end up gets the project because, there's more people to vote. What difference can THC make? What we intend to do is bring a level of transparency to governance that does not exist anywhere else in the world and has never been proposed anywhere else in the world as far as my research shows. And what we're going to do is just how we're coming to you live here and able to record videos for Facebook and YouTube an hour long, and I could put a 20-hour long video on YouTube. I could put a live 24/7 if I wanted to, right? We're going to video every aspect of our work. All the receipts, all the invoices, all the money's paid out, all the money's coming in, right? All the project costs, all the meetings, right? If I can't get the camera in the meeting because the other councillors disagree, right, I will not film their face and you will hear their voice, and I will give you the minutes of the meeting second by second that way, because unless it's national security issues, which is very, 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 very rare for corporations to have to handle, right, then you're supposed to be privy to everything that happens within the corporation. So this is what we are committing to you at the THC. Right? We are committing to show you every aspect of the job. We are also, in addition to the videoing, we'll have a website set up. We will scan every receipt, right, and put it on the website, because per project. So that when we say a project costs $5 million, that's not all you hear. You get to see the cost of the hammers, the nails, the bags of cement. You get to see which hardware it was bought from, whether it import, if one man getting the contract to supply all the material, if it being nicely distributed and stuff within the businesses from the community. That is what you're supposed to be doing as a corporation. That is a level of transparency nobody else has brought, and that is a level of transparency we hope to then push towards the other corporations and to central government and say, if we can do it, why can't you? Right? And in that case, when we have those meetings and we say one vote THC say $2 million man, and the rest of vote say $10 million man, yes, the man for 10 million will get a contract that day. But when we put out all that to you, to the public, and you get to see, wait, why you as the public get to ask, why those other councillors voted for the $10 million man as opposed to the $2 million man? Why they spent $8 million more for the money? And the media started to pick it up and we started to ask those questions. Bet your bottom dollar they do it again. Because now they know everything going public, and now they have to give their best value for money, and now they have to manage the resources properly. And through that move alone, the minority elected into that position can make the majority in that position do the right thing. Tell me if I'm making sense. You all could call in 737-8321. 737-8321. You could call in and say, Marcus, you're talking stupidness, right? That ain't make no sense. So Marcus, in thinking about it, why doesn't central government do it? Why at least, okay, don't film your job and put yourself on TV because you're not a movie star. And that's not what we're aiming for. We're just aiming to do the extreme to push the ideal of the level of transparency that is available, and for the central governance, whoever elected at whatever time, to take a piece of that and use it. So what I would like central governance to do personally is, again, every project have a website, right, from the different ministries, and have a projects tab, right? So that I now as a citizen could go and click any day I want and see what projects was done for the past going back, projects coming forward, anything, and the project going back. Not just see, oh, this project cost 10 million, this project cost 20 million. I want to see every receipt and every invoice, right, scanned and put on a site there to show me that I go, if I want to check and I have the time to check, is available for me. Because that is transparency and governance. Because remember, it's a team to manage. If you are the business owner, do you demand anything less from your managers? If the manager come and tell you, your business is let me say a restaurant, right? And I have to use it because I was in the restaurant business long ago, right? And your manager come and tell you, today the fryer wasn't working, and I take out money from the drawer, and I went and buy another fryer. No, I went and buy 5 different parts for this fryer and hire a man to fix it. It working now. How much it cost, boy? It costs 20,000, but a fryer is 10,000, a whole new one. What you spend $20,000 on? Well, I just told you. 5 parts and the man to fix it. You're not going and demand the breakdown of costs. You go and say, okay, cool. Why are we eating this chain up on this mama guy from governance if we would take it in our own personal lives and our own personal businesses? Come on, right? Get up, stand up. Come on, right? Need to chance to change governance, right? And that's why I keep saying, put somebody, even if it's not the THC, put somebody different. You have this election, this local government election, you have 10 parties contesting the election and 4 or 6 independents, right? Put somebody different outside of the 2 large parties. In other words, you have 8 parties to choose from outside the 2 large parties and 4 or 6 independents. Put somebody different into one of these positions, especially somebody who actually committed to a number of ideals, right? And see what they could do. And let them shake up the place a little bit. Hopefully they will be like us and they will shake up the place and they won't sit down on mute, right? Hopefully they use the position to the best of their ability, because this is what the position, you giving us a louder voice as an activism and political activism to do the right thing, right? That is what electing us to the position is, right? How long you want us to stand up on our soapbox and talk before you actually give us the opportunity to do what we say? And how long you're going to say the idea is good? I had one person comment to me on the Facebook. I mean, it's okay. It's cool, no problem. But I had one person comment to me and say, your idea is real good, you know. I'm not going to vote for you, though. Now is not your time. Maybe in the future. I thought you're supposed to vote on the people who actually going to try to make a difference. Come now. If we start thinking more serious about governance, let's start realizing that this governance affects every aspect of our lives, right? And let's start listening to what other people have to say, at the very least. And I say it like that because you know why? I spoke to some people already on our little moving abouts, and there are some people who are very, very, God, boy, for lack of a better word, addicted to their party, to one of these two large parties, and to that extent, they don't even want to hear what we have to say. They're not even willing to read the material, right? Oh, you all just here to cause confusion. What? Why don't you take a look at the plans we have and then have a chat with us and say, hey, all your plans confusing? No, something like that, I don't get it, right? And we're not forcing ourselves on anybody to talk to anybody, or anything like that, but it is disheartening a little bit to, when we do engage these people in the conversation. Well, here's what we're planning. Has anybody told you something like this before? The cameras, we talk about the cameras, right? And that'll get me into the major crime plan, which is to utilize resources from the corporation, especially the excess residential property taxes monies that are coming in, which are going to equate to, according to the Minister of Finance, within the Pune Piapa Regional Corporation, somewhere around $50 million extra, give or take, We'll use those resources and outfit the St. Joseph Police Station and the various police stations within our electoral districts, if elected, of course, West End and Diego Martin, Kumuto Station in Kumuto Tamana, and Terminal Puna Station for Paradise Kora Takarigua, and outfit them with operations centers, just like we have the National Operations Center that monitors the highway cameras and all this stuff, right? Or supposed to be. Outfit the stations, because it's supposed to be, you can't expect one operation center to manage and monitor the whole country. So if these electoral districts are so small, what we're saying is that for $200,000, right, what we've estimated from the retail price down here with maintenance contracts, we could put 100 camera system with the hardware at the police station, the screens and the hard drives and the laptops and all that stuff, right? And put 100 cameras within the electoral district at every intersection, So you wouldn't stop crime, but you deter crime very quickly, because the criminal element then realizes that they can be found out easier, meaning the car numbers, the directions they took when they leave in or after a crime, or when they're coming in before a crime, and all these different, even the facial recognition, a number of different aspects can be applied. So it's a huge deterrent to crime, and that's shown, as I said, I'm a PhD student in criminology, that's shown in the research and in practice everywhere in the world, right? I'm not even proposing 100. I'm saying we take about $1 million from the corporation TT, right, and purchase 1,000 camera system, right? And you know what 1,000 cameras will do in these little electoral districts, right? It'll be like England. There'll be nowhere that in public that the criminal element can't be seen, and it will, exactly like England, heavily deter crime, heavily, right? At just the cost of $1 million, retail bought in Trinidad with maintenance contracts. Why so cheap? Because this is just the actual cost. You don't believe me? Pick up your phone and call our store. Say I want 1,000 cameras to operate outside and wireless and and a full system for the police station, and see how much you tell you. Yeah, and that level of assisting with the policing in the community is a next big part of what a council should be doing. Engaging. Well, how long you want them to tell you? We want you to form watch groups. We want you to do this, and then. I have a lot of people that believe in heavily in this firearms thing. I believe, I say I, not THC, but I believe you live by the gun, you die by the gun. And I do engage in that. And I am actually pretty heavily against firearms, right? I don't care if you support other parties' views that everybody should be armed, right? I think that will only lead to a number of other problems that we see in countries that have laws reflecting those that are being promoted. I would go a different direction first and do a much better job at assisting the police with their work and ensure that they have the resources and tools, right? Checking our borders and all these number of issues to ensure that the existing guns stop and is reduced heavily. Come on. There's a number of ways to reduce the firearms in the country. The last state of emergency we had in 2011, right? They could have used that opportunity a lot better than that. And there's particular metal detectors made for finding firearms and ammunitions, right? They could have utilized that while everybody was locked down and do their searches in certain areas and find a lot of the guns, right? but it's not being done, you know. So rather than say, okay, we haven't done our, what is happening now is that they're basically saying, we haven't done our job in the past, when elected to do so. And now the last thing we could do that we see makes sense is to say, here, you who we, the elected management, are supposed to be in charge of organizing to protect through the TTPS, to protect and serve. We reach a point now because of our management. That's the parts you're not hearing. That's the sentences you're not hearing. Because of our management, we reach a point now where here you take a gun and you defend yourself. I think any team that was elected into management before should be damn ashamed to put forward those things when there's so many other crime reducing plans and policies that we could use that just simply have not been done properly before, right? Within the place. I mean, look what I just suggested for our communities, you know, very simple stuff, So that's actually the major plan that we have for crime or crime reduction for our communities if elected. The 1,000 camera system for less than $1 million TT, right? Out of 3 plans. We also have, of course, simple things like working with the police station to increase patrol routes and patrol times in particular areas or within the entire community itself, just to increase the presence and visibility of the police, which we know reduces crime. And we also looking at increasing the people's confidence in the police at the same time by purchasing, because we know how it's supposed to be being done already throughout the system, and it's not. There's some little experiment with it, and for some reason it stopped. Right? But why we can't just purchase the body cameras and vehicle cameras and the charging stations and all that and the GPS tracking devices for the vehicles at St. Joseph Police Station and for those few police stations, West End, Komoto, Tunapuna, that I mentioned earlier? That's not going to cost us any kind of money. Very little bit, less than $100,000 for the 4 stations, probably, right? And get it done. Work within the same monitoring system, right? So they know where all the vehicles is at all times, and they have recording of all the officers while they're on duty, right? To get it all at the stations. What we've suggested for the country is that we've said a number of times that if the country can't afford to outfit all officers, then there's 1 out of 24 officers that there have been complaints against to the PCA, right? Why don't you outfit those officers first with the body cameras, right, and start monitoring those persons who seem to may have performed poorly in their jobs? Come on, right? So we're suggesting those 3 things that will do a number of things at the same time. It will increase the confidence in the police from the citizenry. It will give the police at those stations the ability to monitor the entire electoral district. Remember, folks, this Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation, 1 constituency in a general election, 16 electoral districts in a local government election. That is why you can't swing no vote, no government are changing, you're not splitting no vote from anybody. Now is the opportune time for you to put minority parties and minority candidates into those elected positions now at a local government election, and give them the chance to see if they're going to do what they say they're going to do, if they're going to do a better job than the people at the 2 large parties. So you're going to, when the general election come around, oh, well, we give these people 2 years, and they did such a magnificent job in 2 years. They blow away central governments. So we give them a chance in central governance. And that is what all the minority parties would be aiming to do. Remember, the 2 large parties feel safe. They know it's a 2-party system they've encouraged and continue to encourage all this time and continue to train you up to believe, right? That should be the only way, and that's not the only way, right? Obviously, 19 parties in the 2020 general election and 10 parties in this local government election. Obviously, there are other options and alternatives, right? So take the chance. Take the chance now that you have no split in the vote. You're not going to make nobody no government not changing, right? And put within, you don't have to give them the whole, you don't have to give nobody the whole corporation, but put somebody in a seat inside here from minority parties and see if they're ready to shake up the place, right? Take that chance and see if they're going to shake up. What you have to lose? At the very worst, they could do like all the other candidates from the 2 large parties and just do what they have to do and don't take no innovation forward, right? Don't be, more smart thinking and forward thinking in their movements in terms of what they could do for their communities. That the very worst, that is what you're going to get. But if you give somebody the chance, like us here at the THC, man, you have the opportunity to get the very best You have the opportunity to reduce crime in your electoral districts heavily, like heavy reduction of crime. 1,000 cameras, they're not coming here to commit crime, right? Go somewhere else. And I don't want it to happen anywhere in the country, but central governance has to take care of it. And once you give us the opportunity to show that we could do it at this cost within an electoral district, then we could jump up with the now louder voice that you have given us and go to the media and say, can you imagine? Can you imagine a councillor? Have you ever seen it? Right? Coming out and talking against the two large parties, both governance and opposition, and saying all you're doing is stupidness. Look what I did in my electoral district with this amount of finances and the type of project and exactly what it is. Why can't you apply that to the rest of the country, or at least in other electoral districts within the country? What's going on? Why my project cost me 1 million and your same 1,000 camera project with the same cameras, the same everything, costing 20 million? And we could get better value for money. Because we'll force the hands of those in authority. We'll force the hand of those who have been elected, right, to now do the right thing, because you now have somebody in there who not, oh, I accustomed with this, when we get our chance, we just do the same thing. So we can't talk about them and say what they're doing wrong. So we just stay quiet on these issues of mismanagement and bad value for money. No. You'll have somebody to speak on all those things to both large parties and pull up everybody's socks and see a better and more dedicated representation from everybody. We are saying that by giving us the opportunity to bring that more dedicated representation, to bring that way higher level of transparency, to bring that better management of the resources through better value for the money, and show you how much money everything costing, that we will then be able to take that, not no year and 2 years and 3 years down the line, one time, quick movements, right? And get everything. Listen, this camera system thing, the patrols had to happen within the first 2 weeks if you elect us. 2 weeks. The increased patrols and the increased thing. The project, the first 2 weeks, the project write-up and application have to go in within the first 2 weeks for the camera systems and the police camera systems, right? And if they don't allow it because they don't vote, they voted against me, well, we're going to show you they voted, and we're going to force their hand, and we're going to bring it up again and again and again. And if we have to do it, we will go to the businesses in the community and try to get the 200,000 and set up the 100 camera system, force the hand to get the rest done. We will do the job and make sure and do what it takes to get what is needed. Because I am not different from you. I am a Trinbagonian living here in your community with you. If you feel insecure and unsafe, right, in your community, I feel insecure and unsafe in my community, because it's the same community. I don't fly out to go hospitals and doctors. I believe that our system is supposed to be as good. Listen, it's good for Peter, it's good for Paul. And good for all. And that is what governance is supposed to be. Making things at the level that is good for all citizens, whether you're your voters or not your voters. You ought to work to make. That is what governance is. It is despicable to see elected representatives leave this country to use the health system of another country. And we are oil-rich country, man. Come on. That alone show you a better job could be done. And if you're going to get asked about it, you all could decide who I'm talking about. But if you're going to be asked about the deplorable state of the roads in the communities, and your response is, I apologize, then accompany that apology with the right commitments and follow through. That is what we don't see, the follow through on those commitments, and do the right thing. Manage the people resources the right way. Oh gosh, use the opportunity of governance to leave a legacy for yourself. No? Let people talk about you for generations to come and say, well, when this person was in charge and in representing the people, that was representation. They did this and that, and look at you. Look, today, grandchildren, you could have this benefit because of what that person did. Oh gosh, use the opportunity for that, no? instead of enriching finances. And here is what it is enriching finances. If you all don't understand, go to yesterday's video, right? You don't have that much time to get into it. Or you want to know? Okay, right? When a project costs 10 million and a man put in, a financer put in a regular person, contractor put in a cost for 15 million, he don't get the project, right? The party financer who put in a cost for 100 million and that $10 million project, they get the project, right? For whatever write-up reason, or they better qualified, or they had more experience, or whatever it is, right? So much more money that was okay, right? And then what happens when they make 90 million profit instead of 5 million on the project, right? They take a 20 million out of that and they donate it back to the representative. And you know what happens in our system legally today because of how legal campaign finance works? When they put out $20 million into somebody, they declare it, of course, but they get it tax-free. The person who receives it gets it tax-free. And you know where it's going? Into that person, the receiver, into their personal account, not a business account, because you cannot have an account for a political party with the same name as the party. If I make this Trinidad Humanity Campaign Company Limited, then I could get a registered in legal affairs and then get a bank account for it. But for no party, there's a bank account. It goes into the personal accounts of those members without any oversight as to how they're using it. Tax-free. So they can do what they want with that money. They could buy their own house and car with it. There's no oversight. There's no legal oversight on that money. None. That's why I said earlier, we don't take campaign finance for nobody. Because even though we need it and we could use it to do better advertising, we don't want to be perceived in this day and age, and until the law changes for the right to reflect the right thing, we don't want to be perceived as taking any money from anybody. Because we know this is the consequences of campaign finance in this day and age. Kickbacks. Right? So people see about themselves and their friends and their finances. That needs to stop. Yeah, oil-rich country, we have the resources, but instead of we spend the resources into the roads and the drains and into the projects and the security and into the food security and into the job creation and all that, right? We given these particular finances 10 times and 20 times and 50 times the actual cost of the project, right? Because when come time for election, they gain your money back to spend on both your campaign and your personal. Yeah, what am I describing? Corruption. Mismanagement. I use the term mismanagement because corruption evokes a stronger emotion. And as I said, we don't like to campaign derogatorily, but may call nobody name and nobody party. I'm just saying for the last 20 years, at least, and a lot longer. That's the way, and you all know, the sad thing is that you, the voters, know. You might not know that the money is going to the personal account of the candidates without any oversight. But you do know how kickbacks work. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the word in this country, kickback. And if you didn't know, now you know. And is that what you want? And I tell you, it comes back to the tax-paying citizens. A majority of citizens in this country with small businesses and so don't pay taxes. Right? They own self-employed small business and all that stuff. They don't pay taxes. And if they do pay certainly no the amount they're supposed to pay. Right? And because of that, it's not their money spending. So they don't really have an idea of where the monies come from. They think it's government money. You hear that term plenty, right? It's not government money, it's your money. And just now, the tax is going to get a lot different just now. Wait and see. Everybody will feel it just now. Maybe then you all will decide it's time to put a minority party or minority candidate in there, right? But don't let it reach so far. Property taxes done came in the middle of the pandemic. Well, it was introduced in the middle. That is when you introduce a property tax when people suffering. Instead of seeking to collect the existing taxes better. I used the example of our doubles man yesterday. I love doubles, don't get me wrong. Love it. Best food. That should be Trinidad's national dish, I find personally, right? Because it's so ubiquitous within the country and we're known for it, right? But what is happening to a doubles man? A doubles man has sometimes 2,000 doubles in that little box and go out from morning till afternoon when he sell it out. And 2,000 doubles by 5 is $10,000 at 100% profit, 50% profit, if you want to call it that, is $5,000 a day net. That is more than some most medium-sized businesses make. Yeah. Does that person pay tax? No. So if you seek to collect taxes a little better and reinforce business practices a little better, right, in the existing arena, before seeking to just add tax and increase the fuel price 3 times because you feel we stupid, and it looks so, because we sit down and take it. Do that in France now. Do that in the middle of Paris now. You see these big developed countries and you feel they can do what they want. Make one increase in gas in that country now, right? You can see something. You can see a lot of people in the street tomorrow, right? People will come out their homes in the freezing cold, in the rain, in the sun, and don't matter. They stand up for the right thing. And it's sad that we don't have that type of culture down here. Otherwise, I think we could get a lot better representation, personally, right? If we were to stand up for what we believe in, right? And when things are being mismanaged properly, and before the time for election, again, stand up and say, we're not taking that. Do something different. But we don't have the gall to do that, apparently. And we continue to take it, right? But for those of you who believe there's no other options, this is what THC here for, to remind you that it's not just THC either. 19 parties contest general election 2020, 10 parties contesting LG plus independents. There are alternatives. Listen to what those people have to say. See if it's different from what the two large parties have to say. Grill them, question them, check the integrity, check the intelligence, feel them out. And then, that's the direction. You have to know where to cast your vote. Yeah. I notice we keep repeating a lot within the last few meetings the main plans for crime and transparency. And it is because those are the two largest issues in our minds that need to be addressed. But just to let you all know, we do have two other major issues that we are addressing from the council level, just like the crime and the transparency, right? I know these plans, when you read these plans, you can say, these sound like country plans, but no, read it better. It's for the electoral district, specifically. They're very specific to the electoral district, right? And we're also looking at food security and job creation. In regards to food security, just to use up the last few minutes of this meeting number 8 to let you know, those are the main aspects. We think that all empty public lands within a corporation, instead of just being cleaned and maintained, should be converted into both what I'd call a residential or community garden space and commercial garden space. And for the residential or community gardens, it'll be for those persons who want to engage in production of food on a small scale for both consumption and maybe for some small sale, right? But does not have access because they live in apartment buildings or townhouses or whatever have you, right? And they don't have the yard space to do it. And the commercial aspects would be for those farmers who want to engage in different types. And this is where the corporation will come into the management of these things with the program that we intend to institute as the THC, right? To manage to make sure we have proper diversification of the goods and services, of the goods being produced. So we just don't have all lettuce, right? When you set up a hydro farm, right? Or anything like that. But you have a variation that can then go to the markets, that can then, be sold at. We intend to set up a separate organic market within the community. We haven't identified a spot yet when we elect as council, and we will, right? And set up an organic market for these both community and commercial spaces that we now put in to grow and breed and do everything they're doing in a proper organic way, so that we can now bring an organic standard of food to the country. Because I don't know how many of you all know that I keep saying it. It is actually healthier in Trinidad and Tobago to eat fried chicken every day than to eat locally produced vegetables and fruits. Because why? What, Marcus? What? You're crazy or what? No. The type, brand, quality, consistency, meaning ingredients and makeup of the chemicals used in Trinidad and Tobago's agriculture for pesticides, insecticides, even plant nutrients and foods and all that stuff, they've been some of them have been banned in developed countries, because those countries have already identified these things, when used, will cause cancer. These things, when used, will destroy your liver slowly over time. And they ban it. And we have it here, promoting it because it's cheaper, because the other countries ban it. What responsibility here? I should say what a show of responsibility. It's terrible. But that is the case. So that's what we want to do. We want to teach people the organic standard, ensure that they use the right chemicals and all that stuff, get it done the right way, and encourage it to be sold in a separate means so that we now encourage the population to see, oh, look, wait, there's a difference. Wait, this test, are you testing it through UV? Look at the difference. These are regular tomato, and this is what these people grow. Oh my goodness, all these chemicals is be what and what I eat it. We start to bring about a healthy population because we want everybody to live, right? We want to increase the standard and quality of living for everybody because that is what governance is about. Right, and for the commercial spaces, you have animal husbandry, you have organic egg farming, you have organic cattle producing. I keep talking about the cows and the sheep and the goats because you know why? Why we have to bring Australian, why we have to buy Australian lamb to get the size of lamb chop we need when it's not has nothing to do with how they exercise the goat or the climate or the country, is the breed. And it have no breed that's specific to the country. We could bring the breeds and set up farmers to start doing it. Even if we starting at the community level at the small scale. So we gotta import no Angus again just now. We could grow the Angus. I take it a little further. If given central government's permission, I will or authority and elected at that platform at some point, I will seek to introduce the ideas of lab grown meats. Right? I know it sounds weird to a lot of people. But do some research into it. It's not no stem cell thing and all this thing, it's just providing our cell the healthy environment and it grows. We do it for all medicines, right? We can do it for plants. It's what they call tissue culture. You can take a little piece of a leaf so and it will grow a whole plant, right? Is the same thing, right? And you're taking healthy cells from animals, so you have no chance of parasites. I don't think you all know, Meat I eat meat. I'm bad talking because I'm a vegetarian or anything. Meat have a lot of worms, and parasites. A lot. Right? Go talk to butchers and so. Fish, even. Same thing. Parasites, worms. This way you could take healthy cells from these animals without killing a single animal and reproduce healthy meat for the populations. Come on, we start thinking forward to the future. Start thinking a little forward. I can't do that in a council position. So in the meantime, we'll increase animal husbandry, increase the diversity of the type of animals we bring in and we use and we encourage the farming up, and try to bring the country's standard of agriculture up because we talk about food security and reducing the food import bill. But you know what you know what was said by those in charge now is that okay, we are going to reduce the food import bill for beef because beef is one of the biggest points on the food. I think it's number 4 on the food import bill. How are we going to do that? We're going to stop bringing it from America and we're going to start bringing it from Brazil. Food import bill. I don't think they understand the concept of reducing food imports. I think they think once again it's cheaper that reduces imports. That's not it. You got to stop the imports by producing it here. Self-sustainability. I don't know if they pay attention when they go to these UN assemblies when they talk about the development goals and the plans and all that stuff. I don't think they understand what reducing the food import bill means. How they could tell me you're going to stop importing from one country and import it from our next country and that's going to reduce the food import bill. Behave. What chain up is that? What, we're supposed to miss the fine point of import? What's going on? Come on. So this is the type of aspects we're looking at for food security. Right? We discuss all the other points already and finally job creation, right? A lot of people use the job creation to say we reduce crime by supplying the youths who engaging in crime because they have nothing better to do with jobs. And then they say, well, we could put them in agriculture. Agriculture is good. It have a lot of money if you're willing to do the work. But not everybody is agriculturally minded or mentally set to put their hands in the ground and do that kind of work. A lot more youths are entrepreneurially minded and like to think, well, we could start a business and make more money and do something else. But here's what: if you have a good business idea, right, as a group, as an individual, whatever it is, and you bring it to us, we will help you develop a proper business plan and get you proper documents and the things that you need to get either a grant or a loan through the government services, central government services. And if you apply and you don't get through, and your idea has merit, we see that, okay, well, wait, you didn't get through there, boy, but your idea have merit. We think is a good addition to something that the community need, could do, it could bring about good business and better things for the community itself, right? We will set up a project within the corporation to finance it and do it as a zero interest loan. We expect you'll give us back the money and we'll set it up for that, right? But with no interest. We don't want your money, right? We want to make sure you have a better standard of life. These are the things we will do if elected. And I don't hear these things from I haven't heard them from any other candidate this election or before. And when people talk about job creations, they hear a lot about these things, how much of it has happened. Most of the things that I see coming out in the ministries these days, where they say we have a program and you just have to apply for it, get your paperwork together. There's quite a lot of paperwork, and we will supply you with this, and this. The ads on Facebook, at least when I see it, sponsored ads, and I call because I try to call for my Burgesses, for the people that I want to represent. I know people within the community, youths and stuff that need these things, and when I call, they say, "Boy, that I've heard two things, the two projects that I called for. One, that passed 2 days ago, and I asked them, why are you still advertising it? And the next one said, about 2 days left in that one. How long you gave the people originally? 30 days. You know that to get some of this paperwork will take 2 to 3 weeks. Why you give people 30 days? It's almost like if you have some people set already for these projects, and that is not how it's supposed to work. So again, if you give the THC a chance, and you elect us as a minority party into the councillor positions we are vying for, we will shake up the place. We will shake up the corporation by showing you again what is voted on. So it don't matter if our vote is outvoted, we will show you who vote for somebody more expensive and for less value for money for you, right? And show you what is being done. And force the hand of those other councillors to do the right thing, and then force the hand of government by showing the larger projects like the crime projects and the cost of those things, force their hand to do the right thing and to get better value for money by showing you the actual cost, because you've given now an official capacity to do such. We will use our voices that you would have made louder, and we would go through the media and we would speak against everything wrong that's happening and try to get the right thing done. Right? And we would do it because we want to, we need to, and this is what we've aspired to do from the very beginning. But we will also do it because we believe we can better represent you in central governance. And central governance election is 2 years away. We should be doing the best we could in this 2 years, right? Working our tails off, right? To ensure that you see the job that we're doing, and to make sure that you know that we've done such a high level job, quality work, amounts, everything, that you would have no choice but to vote us in for central governance in the next 2 years, right? So put somebody who want to do the work, who have to do the work, who have no choice but to do the work in this case if we want your vote for central governance. You could only benefit by electing THC to our positions. Right? And that wraps up our meeting this evening. You can call me directly on behalf of any of our candidates in any of the electoral districts. I have the answers for you, right? I'm well familiar with all of the districts as the leader of the party, right? And I'm at 462-8870, 462-8870. I believe if you elect us as councillors, we should be available to you as councillors elected 24/7. Right? Because you don't know what time an emergency could happen and you need, you can't get on to, this is what we're there for, this part of the job. And therefore I extend that premise to you now, 2 weeks before the election and all before. You could call me 24 hours a day. If you do elect my councillor, don't call me 24 hours a day after the August 14th, right? Call me the daytime. But for now, I look at it as part of the job, right? You can access me anytime, and I will try my best to answer the questions that you have and to show you where we can give you better representation and better management for our resources. We'll be here again tomorrow evening. Do look out for us in the walkabouts tomorrow. I'm not sure which location. Maybe I'll tackle a bamboo 3 settlement tomorrow. Look out for us, right, from the morning time. You're welcome to come out and meet us if you want. Do please, of everything, at the very least, I'm going to put a flyer in your mailbox. That flyer will have all our major and minor points. Please read them and judge for yourself if this is the type of governance you want or don't want. That's all we ask. Thank you again for your time this evening. All right, Trinidadians. All right, I wish you a good night. Stay blessed. We see you tomorrow.